About to cut one of the larger softwood trees on this block of woods. I'm pretty sure it's going to get hung up as it comes down. It's early February and we're in the worst part of our winter here in eastern Canada. I'm usually doing my logging this time of year. I'm quite far ahead on my firewood, so I'm cutting more softwood. I'll show in a minute why we chose to cut this softwood down, but we're going to take it down here today, and then we're going to take a look at the health of the tree. We're finally getting into some decent diameter softwoods here in my forest. This isn't the first time that I passed through this block of woods, and now I'm coming back around after probably the third pass and taking out some of the larger diameter softwoods. Now my first pass would have been to take out all the dead wood except for the odd snag tree, which is good for wildlife. On my second pass I came through and took out a lot of the trees that were crowded and had broken tops. And now on my third pass through, I'm still taking out some crowding and some broken tops, but it's mostly on larger diameter trees. This one here, if it has a minimum 6-inch diameter across, it could be probably sold to a mill as a decent log to be milled. I expect when I cut this, there may be an unhealthy portion at the very bottom, and then once you get up a few feet, it'll turn into healthier wood and you'll get a good log if the trunk of this is straight. So looking from the dog up the trunk of the tree, you can see this tree has a bit of a lean to it in this direction over here, which means when I go to cut this, I'll make my notch on this side and then cut from the back over here, and it should fall this way into this open area, which is part of my trail system. Looking up, there's very few branches for the bulk of the thing. I would say a good 80% or more of the trunk. And then you come to some canopy up in here. I can't capture it with the cell phone video, but in there, if you look closely, it actually has a busted top. And so then it starts to branch off, usually with 2 different trunks, at which point the log is no longer going to be any good from that portion upwards. I'll remove as much snow as I can because I want to cut my logs as low to the ground as possible. If this is a healthy tree right down to the base, then that's usable material. And so I don't want to lose a few feet of healthy tree if I can help it. We've got it off the stump down here, but unfortunately caught up in a tree. Hopefully we'll be able to push that down and out of there and get this down on the ground to work with. Now when this happens with hardwood trees, because I don't care about the lengths of it, sometimes I'll just go up and zip off a piece here, and then this portion of the tree will fall, and you'll take another piece if you have to. Eventually the tree will topple out of where it's caught up. But with a softwood tree, I don't want to just start hacking pieces off. That's method number one, is push on it, and that's doing nothing. Method number two is try to pick it up and move it, but this is a damn heavy tree. I don't think I'm going to be able to pick this up. Here we see the stump that it came off of, and this actually looks like a very healthy tree down here, with the exception of a little spongy spot right here and another one right there. So what that means is that this log is probably quite usable right from the bottom there all the way up. Came back from having some lunch and the tree had already fallen naturally. We've got some high winds here today and we were getting snow, so I think the wind was enough to maybe bring it down. It broke a couple branches in my maple tree. My third way anyway of moving this to try to get it out of that other tree was to use my crowbar. I'm still going to use this here to try to get this up off the ground, because the first thing I like to do when I get my tree down is make one straight cut here at the butt end at wherever I come to healthy wood. I just got to try to dig this up out of the snow. I'm going to come up a couple inches here because this seems to flare out at the bottom. So if I come to here, I'll get a pretty even diameter. I always take my ribbons off and then I reuse these on other trees as I go through, marking. And then I've got to take a few of these limbs off with my axe before I can get my measuring tape to run up here easily. When I make my first cut in this log, it's going to sink down in the snow. Right now, while it's up off the ground a couple feet, I took the time to peel anything that I can easily peel on it. And then before I do drop this, because it's such a large, heavy log, it's likely not going to move here until spring. And I'm going to put some runners under it right now. So I've got a rotten tree standing here a couple feet away. We're going to cut that down, use it as runners underneath this, and then we'll make our first cut in this log, and it can fall right on top of those runners and sit there until whenever I want to pick it up. Those are good there for the tree to rest on. Try to spread them out a little bit more. Diameter at the base is 8 inches. So when we make our first cut in this up here, we want to try to make a cut with a similar diameter, meaning we don't want to allow our tree to taper too much before we cut our next length. The other thing I've got to take into consideration are the defects in the tree, and we'll measure it up now, but I can already see up there where this tree takes a bend off in that direction, and as of that spot I have to make a cut with my chainsaw. So here's 12 feet. And here's where the thing seems to start to bend a little bit. And up here at 20 feet, it takes that sharp bend. So for now, I'm going to cut this at 20 feet, let it sit here. I'll put a third runner up here on this end, and we'll come back in the spring and see if we want to make this into a 12-foot and an 8-foot piece, or a 16 and get rid of the 4. We ended up with 120-foot length of log. That's 8 inches at the base and about 5.5 inches up here at the top. So probably if I came back to about the 16-foot mark, I'd have a 6-inch diameter still up here. But I won't cut this log any further until I know what I'm going to use it for and what length I want to cut it to there for. And then we got one more log out of this one that's about 10 feet long, but is less than 6-inch diameter. And we'll find some other project for this year to go on. This shows you how I go about cutting my conifer trees or softwood trees. We're going to cut a few more out here, and then on an upcoming video we're going to take a look at the tree rings. There's a study of tree rings known as dendrochronology, and from that you can learn things about the health of the trees in your forest. So I'd like to get a few samples down though on the ground first, and then we'll take a look at them together and see if there's anything we can figure out from that. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.